So I'm pretty excited about this video. This is brisket on a budget, and I've been thinking about doing this video for quite a while. And the reason is brisket is just such an amazing, cook, amazing experience, but there's so much involved with it, so much risk. It usually costs a whole lot of money. It takes a whole lot of time that, what if there's a way to produce brisket-like quality meat but without all of that? You're like, what are you talking about? What I'm talking about is we take a small, not so good, select grade chuck roast, and we treat it just like a brisket, right? So we're gonna go low and slow. We're gonna put a nice heavy rub on it. We're gonna wrap it, and we're gonna try to get some wonderful smoke flavor, nice bark, and keep it as juicy as possible, right? Can we do that? Can we pull that off? Can we make a cheap select grade chuck roast like a prime grade brisket? We can get real close. I mean, real close. It's absolutely wonderful. You don't have anywhere near the amount of money and time invested into it. So that means that you can do this a lot more often. Like a brisket cook, you're not doing those every week. You're probably not doing them every month because there's just so much to it. But a chuck roast, man, that's nothing different than, putting something in a crock pot on a Sunday afternoon. A little bit of a funny fact, when you see these lights in the background on, and you probably, if you've watched many of my videos, anytime I'm using the Rectech, you'll see those lights on. It's because it's plugged into the same circuit. So the Rectech is plugged into a receptacle, and it's the same receptacle that the lights are plugged into, but I have the lights on a switch. So I hit the switch and they both come on. It's not the best way of doing things, but at least you know why I've got the lights on in the middle of the daytime. I'm gonna be cooking on the Rectech pellet grill, but you can do this on any pit, any grill. The main thing is you gotta be able to control the temperature. So, you wanna make sure you are at 250. No higher, no lower, any lower, and one, you could risk drying the meat out, but two, you're just wasting time, to be honest with you, in fuel, rather it's pellets, charcoal, or whatever you're using, wood. If you do it any higher than 250, you can. It's like a hot and fast brisket. You can do it, but the chances of messing up on this go way up because you're dealing with a very cheap piece of meat, and you just really want to kind of treat this thing delicately. Although you're not putting anywhere near the time and resources into it, you also don't want to start this at 12, plan to eat at 5, and then at 5 realize you screwed it all up, and you're gonna have to, punt and try to figure out something else for dinner. All right, so Rectech, I'm gonna fire it up. And I'm gonna take it to 250 degrees. The Rectech is very simple. I've got the new controller to put on the Rectech, just haven't put it on yet. You can see by all the water, I got caught in a rainstorm right before I went to go ahead and start this video. But it is what it is. You roll with the punches in barbecue. 250 degrees, the Rectech's gonna slowly come up the temperature, take about 15 minutes. And why it's doing that? Oh, on the Rectech, and if you're using a pellet grill, most of them have some sort of additional smoke or extreme smoke option. On the Rectech at 250 degrees and below, hit that option, and that's gonna give us a little more smoke flavor on this chuck. And you can get as much or as little smoke flavor as you want, but for me at my home, I like a lot of smoke flavor. All right, so this is a select chuck roast that I've had for it's about a year in the freezer. So a chuck roast like this will run you somewhere around $12 to $15, depending on where you are and all those factors that come in with the price of beef. But it's very cheap. I mean, a brisket, you're looking at how much I know a lot of you guys out there get it for real cheap, but here on the East Coast, no, I mean, a whole pack of brisket is gonna, you're gonna be $50 to $60 minimum. This is 12. I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible. I'm gonna go with this Stubbs rub here, as well as some salt and pepper. Get a few little flavor profiles, but trying to let the beef kind of shine through on this one. Stubbs does a good job at that, I think, of creating rubs that, really complement and let the beef flavor shine through. I'm gonna pat that in. I don't use binders. If you haven't seen my videos before, I only use binders when I think I have a problem with the rub, sticking. Why use it if you don't have to? Why even risk it? To really set this bark off, coarse salt and coarse black pepper. It's about 3.5 pounds or so. The trick here is, remember, you're dealing with a big piece of meat. Whether it's 2 inches thick or it's 4 inches thick, you want lots of flavor from this rub. This rub that's gonna give you it's really gonna set that bark off. And that's that first taste you come into when you bite into a piece of brisket or anything that has a nice bark on it. It's wonderful. Everybody likes a great bark, right? When you think you've used just enough, put a little extra on. It's funny, I think the very last thing I smoked was the exact same thing, another chuck roast. So, very simple. I'm just gonna place them right in the middle, 250 degrees. And we're just gonna let time do its thing. 2 hours. We're gonna go for 2 hours on a 3.5 pound chuck roast. If it was bigger, you wanna go a little longer. If it was smaller, I don't think it can get much smaller. You wanna go a little less, but that's when we're gonna start checking temps at about 150. We're gonna wrap it in foil. I'll show you how we'll do it.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put this chuck roast back on the grill until it gets up to about 202 to 205. And here you can see I got stuck in the rain again, but I did get it up to 203. I probed it, it was tender. And that's really when you wanna pull it off the pit is, when it's tender to the probe rather than the temperature. Placed it in my oven, turned off, door cracked, and let it, just chill out and relax for about an hour. And this is what we came up with. This chuck roast came out really, really wonderful. You can see the smoke ring, you can see the juiciness. I will say that the meat was not uniformly juicy. There were places that were a little bit dry, and you can kind of see them in this shot right here. But I think that's more due to the grade of meat than anything else. Let's see how it tastes. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. The bark is just absolutely amazing. The meat is very juicy. We are so close to a prime grade brisket in places of this chuck. Not every bite, but some of the better bites are really, really close to like a prime grade brisket. This truly is brisket on a budget.